Zelensky says Ukraine controls over 1,250 square kilometers in Russia's Kursk region. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris made a surprise appearance at the Democratic Convention, which kicked off on Monday in Chicago.
Ireland's population boom has led to a housing shortage.
Ukraine controls over 1,250 square kilometers in Russia's Kursk region. That is according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. He adds that troops captured the largest number of Russian prisoners in a single operation, making it one of Kyiv's largest efforts to liberate Ukrainians from Russian captivity.
Наші активні захисні дії по той бік кордону та нездатність Путіна уберегти його територію від таких наших захисних дій дуже красномовні. Наш активний превентивний захист є найбільш ефективною протидією російському терору і забезпеченням реального ускладнення ситуації для держави-агресора.
84 temporary accommodation centers opened in the Kursk region as Russian authorities say more than 121,000 civilians were evacuated since the start of the incursion. On Sunday, the Ukrainian president addressed the aim of the incursion into Kursk for the first time, which is to create a buffer zone to prevent further attacks by Moscow across the border. Zelensky says his troops would not have to physically enter Russian territories, particularly the Kursk region, if Ukraine partners would lift the restriction on the use of long-range weapons. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris made a surprise appearance at the Democratic Convention in Chicago to pay a tribute to U.S. President Joe Biden.
This is going to be a great week. And I want to kick us off by celebrating our incredible President, Joe Biden. Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you.
4 weeks ago, Biden stepped aside as the party's presidential nominee to make way for his running mate, Kamala Harris. The convention holds particularly high stakes for the party as it will showcase the new presidential nominee's policy objectives. Hillary Clinton also made an appearance at the convention. The former Secretary of State applauded Harris for working towards breaking what she calls the highest and hardest glass ceiling. Also on the opening day of the DNC, thousands of marchers took to the streets in a mostly peaceful protest calling for an end to the war in Gaza. Several demonstrators were arrested after breaking through a fence set up by the police.
Bulgarian President Rumen Radev has rejected Prime Minister designate Gorica Grantcharova-Kozareva's proposal for a new caretaker cabinet. Her current plans would see Karlin Stoyanov retain his position as Interior Minister, something the president has said he won't allow because it would not guarantee the holding of fair elections.
Ситуация, аз обявявам и тук пред медиите, че няма да подпиша указ за назначаване на така предложеното ми правителство и съответно вашият ангажимент по съставянето на такова приключи.
The current caretaker government of Dimitar Glavchev will now remain in power until the parliament presents a new shortlist of potential prime ministers. President Radev's decision has set a precedent in Bulgaria, but constitutionalists are divided on whether the issue is constitutional or political.
Кризата не е конституционна, кризата е политическа и това се дължи на неспособността на Народното събрание да попълни списъка, който беше предвиден в конституционния текст и между които президента да избира. Първата стъпка е да бъде назначено служебно правителство, а втората стъпка е да бъдат насрочени избори.
Kisilova says the date for the next elections could be around the month of December.
Heavy rains have lashed alpine regions of Austria, leaving parts of the capital Vienna underwater. Local media say downpours have caused severe damage in parts of the country and disrupted road and rail transport. National broadcaster ORF said that a woman was dragged under a bus by the force of flooding in the Derbling area in the north of Vienna and was taken to hospital in a critical condition. The amount of rain to fall on Vienna is the highest since records began more than 150 years ago. Meanwhile, clean-up operations in St Anton continue with trucks and excavators working to remove the mud and gravel from the road and the village. The A road to Arlberg remains closed and a decision on when to reopen it will be taken on Monday.
Derzeit sind wir in St. Anton unten natürlich voll mit Maschinen, mit Backern, mit LKW unterwegs und wenn Verkehr natürlich da kommt, das behindert uns natürlich unglaublich. Jetzt müssen wir erst schauen, wie wir da die Situation jetzt unten einmal halbwegs lösen, aber die Entscheidung wird heute Nachmittag einmal fallen.
St Anton's mayor says the clean-up operation will take weeks to complete and volunteers will help clean houses in the village.
China has responded to concerns raised by EU businesses over its revised anti-espionage law, which was broadened to include the transfer of so-called work secrets in February of this year. The revised law includes further restrictions on the transfer of data to other parties, but remains vague as to what kind of data is considered a national security threat by China's government. Concern surrounding the law is particularly prevalent in the pharmaceutical industry, as foreign businesses are afraid of making any attempts to certify manufacturing sites in China. The German Medicines Manufacturers Association recently said many of their inspectors refused to visit and inspect production sites in China over fears of arrest for spying under the law. But China says it's committed to providing foreign business with a market-orientated and law-based environment.
你提到中国的反间谍法，这部法律针对的是极少数危害中国国家安全的间谍行为，而不是正常的经贸投资活动。所以，相关企业只要合法经营，人员能够依法行事，就没有必要感到担心。
China is a major supplier of drugs to the EU, and these new restrictions risk exacerbating the disruption of supply chains.
A manhunt is underway for a masked man who stabbed an 11-year-old boy to death while the child was playing football with his friends. The man attacked 3 children at a sports centre, killing one of them and then fleeing. Spanish police have launched a search and capture operation involving a dozen patrols and a helicopter to locate the still-at-large attacker. Relatives, children and residents of the town gathered for a minute of silence in tribute to the child who was killed.
Stargazers and photographers gather across the globe to catch a glimpse of the rare blue supermoon. A supermoon is used to describe when the full moon is at its closest point to Earth. Because of this close proximity, the moon appears to be 14% larger and 30% brighter compared to when it's at its farthest distance. The lunar spectacle is especially rare as according to NASA it is also a blue moon, which happens every 2 to 3 years. Worried that you missed it? Well, according to NASA, the blue supermoon can be seen through early Wednesday morning. August supermoon is the first of 4 lunar spectacles. The next supermoon will be on the night of September 18th, followed by October 17th, and the final supermoon will round out the year on November 15th.
Massive growth in the population of Ireland between 2015 and 2023 has seen demand for housing reach a ratio of now just under 4 to 1. That means for every 4 persons seeking a house, only 1 is available. The massive demand for housing is resulting in a huge increase in property prices, which is now beyond the reach of most young people. Some observers say the government is failing badly to address the needs of people who are trying to get on the property ladder.
We failed to stem that flow and failed to build appropriate social homes to allow them the dignity of being able to be housed. So we have a massive crisis here at the moment that is increasing year upon year, and a massive supply and demand that doesn't mix, doesn't connect, and is completely disconnected and at odds with what our needs are.
Central to the massive demand for housing is the rapid rise in the population. The numbers in the country have risen from 3.6 million in the mid-1990s to a current figure of 5.1 million. However, in that time, the number of housing completions has fallen behind demand. A recent study found that Ireland has a higher house demand ratio than Spain, the United Kingdom, Germany and the USA. The demand per capita is twice that of Australia, which is a popular destination for immigrants from all over the world. The Irish government say that despite the current figures, the rate of housing completions is improving.
For 10 years, up to 2020, not enough homes were being built. But if I look at what we're doing now, that in the first 2 years of Housing for All, we significantly exceeded our targets. We will do so again this year by delivering private, really good social housing at a rate that we haven't seen for over 50 years, and affordable homes for working people for the first time in a generation.
The real problem for the Irish government is that as its economy continues to boom, Ireland will remain an attractive location for immigrants whose demand for housing will continue to surpass supply. This 4-to-1 ratio of demand and supply of houses in this country is putting pressure on the government to increase property completions. With a general election coming down the line in the coming months, housing could be the issue that determines who forms the next government in this country. This is Ken Murray for Euronews in Dublin.